Hi, everybody. Welcome to God and Games. I am so excited to introduce you to this brand new YouTube channel in which we explore the intersection between theology, the study of God, and ludology, the study of games. This is something that I've been wanting to do for several years now, but I've really lacked the knowledge base on how to put a YouTube channel together. Like so many other people in the past 3 months, the pandemic has caused most of my work to move completely to an online space. And so I've learned things that I never thought I would learn to do, like live stream and put a YouTube channel together. Now is really as good of a time as any to finally invest into this passion project that I've been so interested in for so long. Today, what I want to do is introduce you to the purpose of God in games, because the reality is YouTube has thousands of video game channels. Why do we need another one? I want to answer that question by giving you a little bit of insight into my personal life. In addition to being a dad and a husband, I'm also the pastor of a small church. My academic background includes an earned Bachelor of Arts degree from Colorado Christian University with an emphasis in biblical studies, and a Master of Divinity degree, which I earned from Denver Seminary with a concentration in theology. If you don't understand what those words mean or what those fields of study are, that's okay. Essentially, what that means is I'm really interested in the study of God. I'm interested in the study of Scripture. I'm interested in the study of Christianity. Those things are really, really important to me in my life. And I started on this journey of Christianity when I was about 17 years old. I was asking a lot of questions about life and death and the meaning of life and death. Christianity really just made sense to me. It's what made sense of the brokenness in the world. It gave me a lot of hope that things don't always have to be so broken. So I was baptized when I was 17. I started reading a lot of C.S. Lewis and decided that, hey, I want to learn more about this. So dedicated 10 years of my life to learning about Christianity within an academic setting. Obviously, my faith is incredibly important to me, and I want to share why Christianity makes sense and why it means so much to me. But in addition to that, I also want to take some time to reflect on the importance of video games in my life, because video games are also really important to me. I started playing video games when I was about 4 years old. My grandma and grandpa had an NES at their house, a Nintendo Entertainment System. So anytime we went over there, I would inevitably play Super Mario Brothers for hours. I was just completely immersed in the world of the Mushroom Kingdom. A few years later, for Christmas, Santa Claus brought my sister and I our first home console system, a Super Nintendo. It was the bundled version that came with Super Mario World. So just as I had been immersed in the world of the Mushroom Kingdom a few years prior, I spent about a year and a half of my life living in Dinosaur Land. And I'm not really exaggerating. I played Super Mario World obsessively when I was a kid. A few years later, we went to Blockbuster and I saw a game that had an interesting looking case. It was a gold case with a shield on the front, and told my dad, we have to rent that. Turns out it was The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Got immersed in the world of Hyrule. A few years later, I hear rumors that Nintendo's releasing a new console, the Nintendo 64. I start saving all my allowance. I start saving all the money I'm earning from chores so that I can buy an N64 at launch. And I do. I get Nintendo 64 with Super Mario 64, play that game obsessively. And then, when I'm in 5th grade, a very special game gets released. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. And it's around that time, especially playing Ocarina of Time, that I start to realize that video games are more than entertainment. I start to realize that video games have a lot to teach people about life and the meaning of life. Ocarina of Time is a story of a young boy who's thrust into a world of responsibility where he has to learn to courageously fight evil with the goodness that's within him. That has a lot of meaning. That's not just something that I sat on my couch consuming passively. It's something that has been really influential in my life, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally. And by the way, Ocarina of Time remains my favorite video game to this day. Breath of the Wild came close to dethroning Ocarina of Time, but Ocarina of Time will always have a special place in my heart. I mentioned that because I have found that throughout my life, as I have journeyed in a variety of different Christian circles, it seems to me that a lot of Christians downplay the significance of video games. I think a lot of Christians are unfairly critical towards video games and their importance in our culture. I hear things like, hey, video games are boring. They're a waste of time. They're passive. When you're playing a video game, you're just consuming content. You're not actually creating something that other people can enjoy. I hear that video games are too violent. I hear that video games are too addictive. And while there may be some truth to some of those criticisms, I'll address those in a future video, I feel that most of those who levy those criticisms towards video games probably have never sat down and played a game and understood video games as an art form. And that's really important to me, to look at games as an art form, to understand that if we can view movies and TV shows as art, we can view video games as art too. And one of the things that art does is it helps us to look inward, to understand ourselves, but also gives us a portrait of a bigger world. And as a Christian, I believe that God is the designer of that bigger world. And I believe that God reveals himself to us in the beauty of art. There is an aspect of God's truth that is always coming at us from whatever media we are engaging. Video games are far from passive. They're something that those of us who play games engage typically in a very thoughtful manner. So on one hand, my hope within this channel is to help those of you who might not be fans of video games gain a greater appreciation for the art form, for the storytelling, for the graphic design, for the music, for the hard work and labor that the developers put into these games. On the other hand, I feel that there are probably a lot of gamers that have not considered faith or aspects of faith in a very serious way. And my hope is that within looking at Christian themes from video games, I can maybe advocate for Christianity as a pertinent worldview in the 21st century. It's not just some old school religion. I think Christianity has a lot of meaning, and it has a lot of important things to say to what's going on here and now. And when we put those two things in dialogue, the artistry of video games and the truth of Christianity, I think we're going to see a lot of really important conversations taking place. Right now, I'm playing a few different games at my house. I've invested about 305 hours in Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm going to talk about that in a future video. I play Destiny 2 a lot with my friends. I'll talk about Destiny 2 in the coming weeks. I'm playing Pokemon Sword and the Isle of Armor DLC that just came out. But my first video to this channel, once I finish the game, is going to be about The Last of Us 2, because I think that The Last of Us 2 is going to be a perfect example about this intersection of theology and ludology. So once I finish the game, I'll share my thoughts with you, and I'm looking forward to that because I know The Last of Us has been really controversial in the past few weeks. Again, I'm excited to bring this conversation to you. I'm looking forward to what the future holds, and encourage you to like this video, to subscribe to my channel, and feel free to use the comments to engage. Talk to you all soon. Bye.